Welcome to the Basement Roadshow podcast. I'm Tim Smith. Sitting next to me, my esteemed co-host, Grant Patterson. Grant, checking in today. Fresh pull on the coffee.
Actually, it's chai tea.
Chai tea?
Like a mouse.
Shocker. Grant, lot to get into. A little bit of time since we sat down for episode 1. Here we are doing episode 2. And how's things been with you?
It's been busy. The Basement Roadshow is kind of unique as to where it's completely staffed by working individuals, like working professionals.
Stiffs.
Yeah.
Working stiffs. Suckers in the rat race.
Corporate slaves.
Yep.
So
Shills. We're all shills for a different corporation.
For a different corporation than the ones we're trying to rep here. Yeah, it's we've been mad busy. So hopefully this marks a true return to form, and I'm glad to be back in the mix.
Me too, man. I'm glad we had a chance to finally sit back down and get back at it. Lots been going on. So busy in the real world, but I just heard something yesterday that made me crazy. I want to hear your thoughts on it. Amazon came out yesterday with the announcement of the Amazon Key program. Now, Grant, the Amazon Key program, I'm sure you've already heard about it, is pairing a smart lock in your house with an Amazon Cloud Cam to allow them to actually notify you that they're going to deliver your package and open your front door to place the package inside of your home. Grant, what say you about allowing corporations access to your home while you are not there?
If it were anyone else other than Amazon, I'd be like, wow, this is going to fail. But considering the fact that Amazon's current business model has been people installing shit that listens to your entire conversations while you're there or while you're not, I mean, like, it's just kind of a natural evolution of them saying, hey, because we sell you products at cut rate prices, we're going to just assume you love us so much that we'll just, you'll open your house up to everything we want. And I don't know, it just seems mad weird that you just want to trust strangers to walk in. I think that's...
The success of this program is obviously going to be a slippery slope. I mean, Alexa was obviously something that was a huge success. It's in many homes. It's becoming a cheaper technology. It's getting adapted in a broader range of applications. And so no one has a problem now with Amazon listening to everything that's going on in their home. Now people are considering the possibility of letting Amazon, not just Amazon, but other third parties that are going to pair with Amazon, like Merry Maids and some other service style applications. You're gonna allow those people, those corporations, into your home. Why not Amazon Prime microchipping? Let's just start microchipping people. That way the package can be delivered to you no matter where you're at.
The thing is when they're starting to like show off drones, like, oh, hey, let's have like Amazon drones that'll just drop stuff off in your yard. I'm like, all right, it's a little Minority Report, but that's cool, I guess. But this right here, this is like full blown. Amazon's tagline is like, should be just products for trusting motherfuckers.
Yeah. That's the leap of faith that this takes.
Welcome, suckers.
To say that not only you have to take 2 leaps of faith here with Amazon.
2 tree fitty leaps of faith.
You're not only trusting the technology to not be manipulated for the smart lock. You're not only trusting that technology to not be manipulated, you're also trusting the delivery person to not case your house, to not just enter your home and decide they don't want to be the delivery person anymore, and they want to up it to crime and burglary. You have to rely on 2 different levels in order to have the true peace of mind that your home is going to be safe, when you could just say no to both of these things quite easily and pick up your package at a PO box. I just don't understand people willing to sacrifice this peace of mind for the convenience of shipping.
To me, it seems weird that the first thing you need to order on Amazon is a full-blown surveillance system so that you can catch Amazon Key delivery people sniffing panties in your house.
Yeah,
Like, there's only one way this is going to end.
The Amazon,
That's badly.
The Amazon guy, he ransacked my house. He stole Nana's heirloom jewelry.
No.
And
The Amazon guy didn't do it. No. The Amazon guy never actually had that happen. It's the guys that, quote unquote, mugged the Amazon guy, that the Amazon guy, quote unquote, had no idea who they were.
Correct.
That walked into the house, ransacked Nana's jewelry, sniffed your wife's panties.
Absolutely.
Like,
now they're not just
weird.
They're not casing
It's
your
weird.
front porch anymore for packages. They're casing the guy that's going to let them into your house.
Yeah, dude, it's weird, and not even that. It's like it's not like this dude's not getting a cut or walking away with your, the proceeds from your PlayStation Pro. I mean, like this is.
I can't even get an Alexa in my home, so I'm not worried about this technology affecting me in any way.
Neither do I. Don't want it in my house, man. The last thing I want is to have a company listening to my conversations just so that they can sell me more shit through their storefront.
Yeah.
Anybody that doesn't see that, I'm sorry, listeners. If you're those people, that's cool. By all means, do you. But you gullible.
What about that great benefit of opening your phone and it knows that you need Tide because you said, "Shit, I'm out of Tide."
Yep. That's weird.
I just don't understand how convenient you need your life to be and what you're willing to give up for that. I mean, it's absolutely like Amazon. They've got their finger on the pulse of this shit, though. They've got it figured out. They're like, what freedoms are these people willing to give up in order to have really reasonably priced shipping and a great turnaround time?
Yeah, to buy freaking Tide in bulk.
Yeah. I don't get it, but I'm not going to be one of those guys who's subjected to that. I'm not falling into your trap, Amazon, all right? I'm not doing it. Yet.
I was going to say. Gamefly, on the other hand, no, you dropped that shit on my couch.
Yeah, exactly. So I had another little thing that I wanted to get into. Grant, I know you're busy. You got 2 young daughters. Busy as hell job, so I don't think you've been concert ticket shopping too much.
I do every
lately.
once in a while. I usually go to probably 1 or 2 shows a month, 1 or 2 shows a year. But I do have sympathy with where you're going with this because I already know where you're headed with this one.
This industry, more than any other industry, the concert ticket industry is just so warped to the point where I just don't see how consumers can really get a fair shake in this stuff anymore. I was just involved in a pre-sale for Foo Fighters tickets. So right off the bat, I figure I'm in good shape because I have a Capital One credit card. So I'm eligible to be in this pre-sale. So I'm super excited about it. And at 10 a.m. Is the pre-sale. I'm sitting in front of that computer at 9:45. I'm sweating. I'm ripping pieces of paper into long lines like a lunatic. I'm prepared. I am mentally focused on the task of getting fucking Foo Fighters tickets and getting some good reserved seats. So boom, I hit refresh as soon as that clock hits 10. Put in my pre-sale code. View for seats. Nothing available.
Of course, because
not even 10:01.
You're not the only person with a Capital One card, and I think there's probably a good 10,000 people that felt the same way.
Correct. And it's just this.
So what's the point?
Right. I mean, the only way you have a shot is absolute miracle.
It's basically fastest finger on the F5 key.
Yeah.
Just letting you know.
Yeah. And also it seems that a lot of these get purchased up by bots.
Yeah.
And everything ends up on the secondary ticket market. I'd be a little more apt to not be upset about this if it weren't for the fact that I understand that the majority of these aren't going to that guy who's dying to go see the Foo Fighters in Tampa. They're going to ticket brokers, and then what I know is going to happen is I'm looking at the ticket price on Ticketmaster or Live Nation or wherever you're looking, and I'm knowing that my attempt to purchase this ticket is going to result in me paying double the price for this ticket eventually on StubHub. That's where I'm going to end up eventually. If I really truly want that seat, that is now what's the cost. So it's almost like there's a built-in middleman for this thing. And, Pearl Jam fought it in front of Congress in 95, but here we are 22 years later, and it's worse than ever.
Well, I think honestly, and there's no proof to this, and I'm not going to sit here and try to act like some sort of fucking conspiracy theorist. But, how much you want to bet that some of these bots that are picking them up to resell on StubHub are actually somehow agents from the original sellers in the first place, just far removed so that way they can just milk more money out of those tickets?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Wouldn't put it past them.
No,
I mean, I'm not saying that's
me.
the case. I'm not saying that that's even realistic, But I'm saying that when you're dealing with corporate, as two corporate slaves would really, really know, wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah. It's incredibly frustrating. It's just something that I've encountered the last few times I've tried to purchase tickets, and to the point where I don't even know if I want to deal with it anymore. I have to just wait and try to cherry pick on StubHub and shoot my shot essentially, and hope I get the tickets that I need.
These dudes are going to try to make $1 out of 15 cents.
A dime and a nickel.
Shout outs to Aesop Rock.
Grant, do you have anything else to add?
No.
No?
Not really. I'm just kind of
We're just kind of moving and shaking our way through this intro segment because exciting news. The Basement Roadshow podcast going to have its first guest today. Grant.
Yeah, we got our first guest today, and that's I've been really, really looking forward to it. Longtime friend of mine. He is definitely one of our best and brightest. He helped me put together the Gundam vs. Video guide. He's also put together our first video review and our video movie review for Blade Runner 2049. He also did our first movie review for Dunkirk. It is my distinct pleasure to announce our esteemed guest for the day, and that's Mr. Danno Waddell.
Danno, welcome to the Basement Roadshow podcast, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you, guys. It is absolutely a pleasure to be here.
All right, Danno, welcome. Danno, welcome to the Basement Roadshow podcast. What say you? How are things? We've worked on some stuff before. You've worked on a lot of stuff for Basement Roadshow. It's your first time sitting down with me and Grant Patterson. We're happy to have you. We're going to talk about some things today. We're going to talk about some movies. We're going to talk about some games. There's a lot going on in both of those worlds right now.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot.
There's
some
going
big
on.
TV stuff happening. So lots of media to consume. And Danno, if you haven't checked out basementroadshow.com, go ahead and do that. Danno has reviewed the Movie Pass, so he's going to be one of our movie guys. He's got access to seeing a lot of those, and the fall movie season is actually pretty jam-packed right now if you're a nerd.
And let's face it, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are.
Yeah, it's highly likely you're a nerd. And Danno, there's some big ones coming up. We're going to talk about Thor Ragnarok. We're going to talk about The Last Jedi. We're going to talk about Justice League. Danno, what one are you most excited about? Why don't we talk about Thor? Thor coming out in just a few days here.
Well, first of all, I mean, let's not start off that question with which one are you most excited about, because I know which one you're most excited about.
We know.
But
let's go chronologically.
We'll start with Thor Ragnarok just because it's chronological order here.
I am very much looking forward to Thor Ragnarok. The trailers have made this movie look like a ton of fun, and the reviews that have already come in are looking like it's going to be possibly the best reviewed Marvel movie to date.
Correct. As of right now, Rotten Tomatoes said it's tracking as the #1 rated and reviewed Marvel superhero movie.
Which is huge, considering the fact that the previous two Thor films are not.
They're not the highest rated. No, they are not. I've enjoyed both of those. Films, but what I am seeing from the trailers for Thor Ragnarok has me so excited. Obviously, we're going to see some Planet Hulk elements be brought to the silver screen for the first time. All the nerds are excited about that. What do you think about Mark Ruffalo's involvement in the Thor film?
I think that Mark Ruffalo has done an excellent job in bringing the character of the Hulk and Bruce Banner to life. I'm very excited to see him and Chris Hemsworth together in this movie. They have done a great job kind of butting fists and heads in the previous films that they've been involved in, and I think it looks like a fun, almost like buddy cop movie.
I got the same feel.
Yeah, it's Riggs and Murtaugh in Asgard.
In Asgard, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely get that feel from it. I'm excited to see, the Hulk kind of just being pretty hulky and, not everybody trying to contain him. That's going to be really interesting, and just, the Hulk experiencing adulation. I mean, we all know what the real bedrock of Thor Ragnarok is. Is it Tom Hiddleston? No, it's not. Is it Chris Hemsworth? No, it's not. Mark Ruffalo? Sorry. You're all in a movie with Jeff Goldblum.
You're all in a movie with Jeff Goldblum, baby.
I don't know what to tell you.
I was just saying,
you're in a movie with Jeff Goldblum, and I'm really excited to.
There it is.
He's the Taskmaster. Is that his character?
No, I don't think he's the Taskmaster.
The Grandmaster.
The Grandmaster.
Grandmaster,
That's
yeah.
it. That's it. The
He's not
Grandmaster.
Taskmaster. Taskmaster's got like the skull face.
Right, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So he's the Grandmaster, and so he's going to be. Looks like he's overseeing a lot of these clashes between Thor and Hulk, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. Plus, he has a really cool like blue hair. He's supposed to be a blue character, blue skinned character, but they just kind of made him blue hair. He's like, Jeff Goldblum's like, have you seen my beautiful olive skin? You want to paint this blue?
Nah, you know what? Jeff Goldblum kind of just owns whatever he's in. It's like he doesn't even mean to. So it doesn't really matter what movie you're in with him. He is pretty much the sun, and the rest of the planets are just going to orbit around him just because it's the natural order of things.
Super exciting, man. That one's coming out. Justice League. That's going to be on the heels of that. Lots of trailers. They're running a pretty big campaign. The most recent article I read is that early ticket sales are tracking worse than Suicide Squad.
Yeah, because I've watched the trailer. I've seen the posters. I can't tell you the amounts of anti-hype I have for that movie. I want it to do well, but and just like anything else in the DC cinematic universe, I really, really believe that if you want the DC movies to do well, you really got to break apart from the pack and just stop trying to be Marvel. You got to do something different. You can't just try to like force it to happen. And I feel that I've said it before. I don't know if I said it before in the last podcast episode, but what's his name?
Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder. Thank you. Zack Snyder has this anti-Midas touch when it comes to certain things. I think the only things I've ever seen him do that I've really enjoyed were 300. The first Sin City did he do the first Sin City?
No.
I don't think he was involved with the first one.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the second one.
Okay, maybe he had nothing to do with Sin City. I know he had something to do. He was the guy on 300, and I know he was also behind Watchmen. And the first half of Watchmen is practically frame for frame recreation of the book, and he deserves every bit of credit for that. I don't know whether it was up to studio meddling or whether it's the fact that he caved to the studio or whether it's just his own directorial vision. But the latter half of Watchmen is literally a slow motion train wreck that's just agonizing to watch if you like the books. And every time he's ever tried to adapt something and it has his fingerprints on it, it has that same sort of stink. And I feel bad for the guy because I don't think he deserves all the hate that he gets. But much like Michael Bay, when it comes to Transformers and Ninja Turtles, he needs to stop inappropriately touching the heroes of my childhood.
Well, other than kill Zack Snyder, though, what are the solutions for the DC universe? I mean,
I never said that. The views of Tim Smith do not reflect the views of Grant Patterson or Basement Roadshow.
Okay, whose house has a Zack Snyder effigy when you walk right in? All right, I understand you were decorating for Halloween, but we all know it was Zack Snyder. Anyway, what's the solutions then? Where are we erring so horribly, other than Zack Snyder's vision? Where are we erring so horribly in these movies that they just can't seem to catch on in any capacity with the general public? In any, I mean, the worst Thor film probably is going to do better than Justice League, and that is incredibly depressing as a DC fan. What is the solution? What can we do to make these films more viable pictures? Their animated universe is amazing.
If they were to go and do more standalone stories like the animated universe does, if they were to be more brave like the animated universe is...
So you think the problem is trying to pigeonhole into the Avengers thing that Marvel did?
Yes.
All right.
It's the fact that they keep trying to copy a lot of the same beats, and the fact that they try to copy-paste a lot of what worked over there as some sort of formula.
That's not specific to DC. That's a Hollywood thing.
It is, but the problem is you're taking a look at that formula through the lens of the components of the recipe itself. And Marvel's stable of characters and storylines and just general expanded universe kind of lends itself to what Marvel does best in terms of how it does its movies. DC doesn't. DC has been around longer. Its characters are actually, some would even argue, more iconoclastic than a lot of Marvel characters.
It's an easy argument.
It's easy to say that because when it comes to superheroes and you think of the OGs of the superhero genre, people can say Spider-Man, but that's not really the case.
You're going to name Superman and Batman before you name Spider-Man.
You're going to name Superman and Batman before you get into X-Men or anything else. So it's... You have these titans that have been done to death. If you're going to do DC some justice, you need to make smaller, quieter, braver stories about those two characters as standalone pictures, and then you need to start fleshing out these other characters. It's not about, all right, let's have a Batman movie, let's have a Superman movie, let's have a Wonder Woman movie, let's have Batman versus Superman, and that leads into all these other guys that are coming in, and they're going to do this thing, and they'll, hey, suddenly care about Aquaman, and hey, where's the Flash? Hey, we got a TV series, so you're going to suddenly care about this guy. No, it's really ham-fisted.
It just doesn't seem like they can generate any excitement behind a picture anymore. Like they couldn't resurrect Christopher Reeve and get people excited to go see Superman anymore because of what has been done previously.
It's been done to death. It's been done to death. How many movies has there been for Superman? Seriously, how many Superman movies have there been?
Dana, what do you think they've did, like in terms of
it's
the
the
way
same thing that works against Spider-Man movies.
The way they did Superman in the current iteration, I mean, generally, from our perspective and the way America is now, I understand Superman was made to kind of represent an ideal. And do you think we've gotten so far from that ideal in 2017 that Superman's no longer a character that anyone can relate with on any? I mean, obviously he's meant to signify the best in people, but can we just not relate with Superman? Is that part of the problem?
Well, I believe that Man of Steel did an excellent job in making Superman slightly more relatable. I would almost argue that Man of Steel sets the Superman character up almost similar to a Doctor Who, if I can stretch things, in that he's the sole survivor of his people, and then coming to probably the most, I don't know, controversial, but still, I think, best part of Man of Steel, where he has to make that decision.
To kill Zod.
Yes.
Sorry, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert for
Spoiler alert.
5-year-old movie?
But that's the thing. It's we've hit the statute of limitations. I agree with you. I'm not trying to cut you off, but I knew exactly where you were going.
Correct.
And that was the most... It sucks that it took forever to get there.
Yes.
It took forever. Like you had to go through didn't you have to go through the origin story again? Yeah, because you had who is Kevin Costner.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, dude, how many times do I need to see that Kal-El is Superman? How many times do I need to see Peter Parker get fucking bit? Like
Thomas and Martha Wayne getting shot.
How many times? Like, we already know this. I think it's part of the reason why, like, it's X-Men is starting to hit that level of fatigue because we don't need to have the introduction anymore. They're part of the pop culture lexicon.
Right. So the studios need to make more of the assumptions for the audience here in terms of understanding what parts of the source material we assume. We got to be assuming that they're familiar with that Peter Parker got bit by a fucking spider. Okay? And now he's fucking Spider-Man.
The reason why killing Zod worked is because it challenged Clark Kent, Superman, on an actual moral level. Here's a guy that is constantly trying to save lives with as little casualty and as little collateral damage at all costs, yet he is essentially a god amongst men, fighting another god amongst men, and he has to make the decision to kill. And that is a major, major thing. And I think that whenever it's like if Batman needs to be
basis of many of the Batman comics.
It
like,
is.
Why hasn't Batman made the most difficult choice to kill the Joker to stop further bloodshed? Because basically Superman kills Zod because he knows he will not stop. He will not stop, and he will have no regard for any collateral damage. So Superman did this to save the future and save more people. And that's always been a huge argument for Batman. It's like your code has gotten how many people killed because you will not kill the Joker.
In the long run, you actually cause more problems because you're not actually finishing the problem in front of you.
And you are an antagonist of the problem because the Joker, how many things does he set up just for Batman?
If you were to make a Batman movie, and I'm not trying to be imperialistic with the conversation here, but I want to know your thoughts on this. If you were to make a Batman movie and do a live action movie about Batman and the Joker, do the Killing Joke, frame for frame, word for word, write down. If you haven't read the Killing Joke or watched it,
turn this off and go read it.
No, turn this off and go read it, but skip ahead probably about 2 or 3 minutes. right now. At the very end, where you basically see the two of them laughing together after Batman's killed the Joker, and then you see...
Those are chilling panels,
And then, yeah, because you don't see what's actually happening on the panels except for ha, 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 ha. And you see the Joker's ha, 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 ha's stop. The only one who's laughing at the end is Batman, and the connotation that they're not showing you is that Batman has finally snapped and has killed him because it's, you know...
Which means the Joker won.
Which literally means that even though Batman is the one still laughing, the Joker got the last laugh. If you made that movie and made it just as ambiguous, but only left that little bit there just as some sort of like, you can interpret it this way, or you can say maybe Batman is starting to go a little nuts or whatever. If you made that movie where it really challenged Bruce Wayne's character, I think that would be extremely well received, and I think that could almost single-handedly resurrect DC in the eyes of many.
But you got to go R-rated with that movie.
Well, you would. But what do you think about it?
I completely agree. I haven't seen the animated Killing Joke. Some of the stuff I read about
disappoint the living shit out of you.
That's exactly what I heard.
It's good, but the Barbara Gordon thing is a credible distraction.
It's the same reason why Watchmen failed, is because they couldn't just stick to the
They couldn't stick
script.
to the story. The Barbara Gordon thing is
the
distracting.
script.
If you just go in knowing that, it's good.
I've never been able to get behind Barbara Gordon and Bruce Wayne, regardless of if it ever happened in the comic books or not. I can't get behind that because I'm a Dick and Babs fan.
Dick and Babs fan.
Can I say that? Is this rated X?
I'm a Dick and Babs fan.
I like.
Jesus.
I'm a Nightwing and Oracle fanboy, or what is? I guess I'm team Nightwing. I don't know, but
He's shipping them, boys.
I think that would be potentially the best Batman movie we ever have. And I think one of the problems with the DC universe right now is they do an excellent job of capturing those frames from comic books and bringing them to the screen, but then the story underneath it is lacking in anything, and I don't think they remain true enough to the source material outside of that. So, for example, we're talking about the fact that Batman doesn't kill, and then we meet him in Batman v Superman, and he's willing to just open up machine guns.
He's got machine guns all over that damn Batmobile, and he just doesn't give a shit.
And I cannot get behind that.
There's massive moral dissonance when it comes to that character's portrayal.
It's so wrong because you start out the movie and he hates Superman because of all the destruction Superman caused, and then he shows up and causes just as much destruction.
Let me be the biggest hypocrite in the room.
Exactly. It's there's so much. Okay. And I could dig into Batman v Superman for hours, but we don't have that much time.
I am the thing that flaps in the night. I am cognitive dissonance.
But The Killing Joke, to me, is potentially the best Batman comic book or graphic novel that exists. And it's dark and it's disturbing, and I think that's what you need, because I think Batman has to live in a dark and disturbing world.
I agree.
Especially when he's a kid who lost his parents at the age of like 8 years old or something, and has had to deal with this city that's essentially crumbling beneath him. And I love that struggle, and I think having the uncertainty of that ending, where maybe the Joker's laugh stops, you still hear Batman laughing, and it's already faded to black.
Maybe that last pillar is what's actually crumbling.
Leave it up to the audience to kind of fill that hole, like in Inception, where the top is spinning.
Exactly.
Exactly. But the problem with that is the corporate structure. That's the problem with these movies. Is these
because they're not ballsy enough to take that sort of risk.
No, and it's not that they're not just ballsy enough to make that risk. You're talking about telling a story that ends. And that doesn't beget Killing Joke 2. I know Killing Joke 2 doesn't exist. But,
no, you're right.
But what is the first thing the studio guy who doesn't know about Killing Joke, how does that set up Killing Joke 2?
Yeah, but that's not what you need to be worried about. It's like Logan.
Tell that to the corporation that's publicly traded.
It's like Logan. You don't need to worry about Logan 2 because it's a standalone story that's meant to stand on its own.
But you got yourself 8 Wolverine films before that.
But that's the problem, is the fact that it acts as as a bookend to this entire legacy rather than a standalone story.
Which is why it
and
got
if
made.
they're such a big fan of switching out the character of Bruce Wayne with someone else, why be afraid of telling standalone stories when that can actually be like, okay, this is this guy's Batman to tell this Batman story, and then this guy's Batman tells this Batman story.
I love that idea. I have an anime. It's not really anime. I have a DC animated movie that is, I think it's called Gotham Knight. It's a collection of nine Batman short stories, drawn and written differently, different interpretations of the character, and that is one of my favorite Batman experiences to enjoy because it dives into different mythologies, it dives into different sides of his character, it dives into different interpretations.
It's the reason why the Animatrix was so damn good.
Oh, I love the Animatrix. Have that as well. Love the Animatrix. It's basically Batman Animatrix.
It's
That's
basically
what
Batman
this is.
Animatrix.
That's exactly what it is.
That's the reason why Halo
if
Legends
you haven't
is good
checked
too.
it, if you haven't checked that out, definitely check it out. It's great to see that story told from so many different angles, in not just narrative, but in animation and in voice acting. So it was that was great. But I think that would be incredibly impressive. But we're talking about publicly traded companies who are concerned about how this is going to play in China.
Speaking of publicly traded companies that are concerned about profitability,
Who?
let's move on to a sure thing. Let's move on to what's possibly the most blue chip bet of the entire 2010s.
If this were a prize fight, you would have to lay down $100 million to make $100.
Yeah, you would.
That's how great the odds are.
There is no way this movie's going to fail. Danno, how hyped are you for The Last Jedi, brother?
Right now, I would like to say I'm at 11, but that last trailer kind of turned me back down to maybe a 9.
I you know what? I could feel that, but I guarantee you that trailer's a misdirection.
It's a red herring, you're
I
saying.
guarantee
I completely agree. I saw a analyzation of those last two scenes, and they are slightly colored differently in the background to where they might have even changed the background of one to make it look more similar to the next one. I definitely think they're trying to cause some misdirection.
Some Hollywood chicanery.
Yes. And
I think what they're trying to do is set up your expectations. That way when you see something else, it's going to floor you because you were expecting a punch from the left where you just got nailed with the haymaker from the right.
Yeah, this is classic. This is classic setup for an overhyped movie. You know, they're going to lead you down the primrose path. I don't believe for a friggin' second that Disney's going to spoil a movie like The Last Jedi with an overt trailer. I know you said you watched a breakdown of that's where I've stopped. Once this trailer came out, I watched it one time, and I said, I'm out. I want to watch the breakdowns. I'm seeing things. It's like, oh, this is from this was found on a panel in this released magazine. It wasn't supposed to be there. Guess what it says about Snoke? And I'm like, no, I can't. I don't want to know any more about Snoke because I'm gonna finally learn some shit about Snoke in this movie. I'm excited about that. What other aspects of Last Jedi are you really looking forward to? What answers do you think you're gonna get, and do you hope to get?
Well, I would first say I haven't read anything. Because I see those, I get emails from newsletters that say things like, it revealed who the Last Jedi is. And I'm like, I'm not reading that.
Personal embargo is on.
Right? Yeah, I have just stopped reading anything that says Star Wars on it. And I'd say the biggest question people have right now is regarding Rey's origin. Mm-hmm. But I think The Last Jedi is going to show us a little bit more of Kylo's origin. I hope we get some
Knights of Ren action.
Yes.
They showed you a little bit in the first movie. You got to see flashes. And what I think is funny is the fact that I think even the flashes themselves are misdirections because they cause you to assume something went down. And I think it's going to kind of give greater context as to the reasons why. Because what went down is nowhere near as important as to why it went down that way.
I mean, do you think it's possible that, we assume that Kylo Ren just snaps and just takes everybody out? I mean, could this be a situation where a disaffected Luke Skywalker is seeing this happening and decides to just straight up abandon, and then Kylo Ren goes off the rails from the catalyst of that decision?
I'm thinking that probably Luke made a lot of the same mistakes that the Jedi Council did when they were trying to deal with Anakin, because he had no mistakes from which to draw from. No one else was able to tell him, like, oh, here's the problems we had and here's the things we did wrong, because they were so focused on just trying to hit the reset button that they didn't have time to give him anything else.
Well, yeah, correct. And I mean, Obi-Wan couldn't even be honest with him. I mean,
But you don't know, because that could actually be addressed in the movie. And it's all this speculation. I think it's what this trailer did so well, is the fact that it gave us all this room for speculation and no real firm answers until December 17th, something like that.
Yeah, I believe it's the 17th.
So
It's exciting. I think we're going to get to see a little bit more Captain Phasma. I'm curious to learn more about that character. I think
she's got to be pissed. Freaking armor looking that good, you get dumped in a trash compactor, man, I'd be mad at a ma.
Yeah. She definitely had to take that to the Empire detailing shop after that.
Shit.
Most deaf.
First order detailing.
Yeah.
That's the first.
Sorry.
Nerd alert.
Just got my card pulled by fucking Danno. All right, well, we had a great time bringing Danno on the show. Danno, don't let the door hit you in your ass on the way out.
God. No, man, you asked for that. You just freaking.
I did. I totally asked for that. But so basically, we're all hyped out of our minds for The Last Jedi. We got a lot of questions that we want to get answered. You're probably going to hear more about that before.
I want to know whose Luke hairdresser is, man. That shit's looking freaking 70s as hell.
Yeah.
If that dude doesn't bust out freaking fog hat or some shit, I'm going to be real pissed off.
Luke Skywalker coming out. He's like, "Oh, you tell me home." It's like, what the fuck? Looking like Michael McDonald.
Michael McDonald.
What the fuck?
I do want to say my.
Take it into the
Holy
streets.
shit, Luke Skywalker like a 60-year-old Oak Ridge boy.
That's it, dude.
I'm sorry, Danno.
That's okay.
That blue
want to
lightsaber
say
soul.
my biggest concern for The Last Jedi, and I had this at the end of The Force Awakens, is still how much it is going to
Draw from Empire.
Yes.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yep. I knew right where you were
glad
going.
You brought that up. Because the thing is I am totally willing to have Force Awakens pretty much be a carbon copy.
It's an homage.
On some level. It's not a carbon copy one-to-one, but enough of the same narrative beats are repeated.
It's an homage for sure,
yeah.
and I'm fine with that. But
it's a little bit of a catalyst.
Yeah, and okay, fine. You want to get into this whole idea that history repeats itself. I dig that too. I like how you're setting that up, but it's one of those things where if the thing that Empire did correctly is the fact that it introduced the idea of doubt to Star Wars. Star Wars, you had no doubt. It's like, man, the good guys are going to win. This is going to be awesome. Empire, that shit did not happen that way. They're like, oh, it's going to be Star Wars 2. Like, nah, man. Everybody is getting shit on. Han's getting shit on. Leia's getting shit on. Chewie got shit on. C-3PO got shit on worth out everybody. That dude,
Luke got shit on that movie twice.
Twice! It's like straight up. Like, and it's that has to happen here. And I think what's happening is when you look at the trailer, you see what's going on with Rey and how she's awakening and like, you know, she's seriously like innately powerful. There's a wall that was built in that kid's head for some reason. But I don't think they're going to Mary Sue her. I think what's going to happen is the fact that there's going to have to be a massive element of doubt. And you see it in Luke, where Luke is no longer... Luke in Empire Strikes Back had no doubt and paid dearly for it. Luke in Last Jedi is literally doubt incarnate. Like, you can look at this dude and tell he's seen some shit. He does not want to see any more. He's like, yeah, I could do this. You seem to be born for it. But, the last time I touched fire, I got burnt.
All he's seen is that power be destructive. He he's barely, sure, yeah, he used it to stop the Empire and blow up a few Death Stars, but just like, what about the poor independent contractors on the Death Star? Like, it's done.
Shout out to Clerks.
Yeah, exactly. He's been a part of a lot of collateral damage from the Force, and what are the huge, powerful, positive things that Luke Skywalker has seen come from the Force? Like, that's a fucking short list.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that Rey has a high chance of becoming what's essentially a gray Jedi?
I would say I'm not sure on that yet. I think she has that potential because I think she would serve as a good middle ground in taking what the light side has done well and pairing it with what the dark side has done well. And
do you think Hollywood can be comfortable with that level of ambiguity?
I think it's realism, quite honestly.
I do too.
Because I think the main thing that they showed you in the prequel trilogy, as ham-fisted as it was the fact that absolute adherence to the light is just as destructive, self-serving,
absolutely,
and hypocritical as the dark side is.
No one wears a black hat or a white hat all the time.
Well, the thing is, I think if you're not willing to balance these two things and hold them both close as halves of a greater whole, I think you miss the point. And I want to see.
But again, can the Hollywood? I understand the philosophical beats of this, but can the Hollywood machine handle that? Empire was a dark film that was left open-ended, and that's not a comfortable place for Hollywood these days.
Well, they're going to have to do that with this anyway, since it's the second part of a third trilogy. They have to leave it open-ended.
Well, they're going to leave it open-ended, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a dark ending like Empire was.
I'm thinking it might actually be a little bit darker.
I hope you're right.
This Star Wars logo right here
is red.
Yeah. Like, that, somebody's going to die. Like, somebody serious. Like, this isn't like, some Han Solo playing the Obi-Wan here. I think somebody's going to get killed.
Well,
and I know for a fact that with Carrie Fisher having died, rest in peace, with her having dropped out, she's definitely on the chopping block. She has to be. And then...
Well, they really show that hard in the trailer, though.
Well, I also think that's a misdirection, because the thing is I think what's going on is the fact that I would almost want to say that Kylo Ren chickens out. I think he doubts his own connection to the dark side, because I think he went after Han in an attempt to gain more power, and I think that didn't work out for him. I think he didn't get what he wanted out of that transaction, and I think he's having doubts about buying in harder.
Not to fall down the rabbit hole on this, but the theory that Han triggers Ren's lightsaber.
I don't think so.
I don't buy it.
It's got to be Kylo.
I don't buy it.
Kylo does it.
Because the thing is, he went out there trying to hug him, and then he triggered that lightsaber, and then he fell away, and him touching his face, good acting. I was like, yo, that's like, he's like, I still love you. I think that act is probably what fucked him up the most, because it was like Han wasn't even mad at him. He was like, you're screwing up, and I still love you because you're my son, and like. That sticks. And then, like, because of that act, he's like, I finally cut away my past. I can do anything. Homeboy walks out with a giant, full-blown, like,
him up with that
ninja slash across his face. Like, dude, you are not nearly the badass you think you are. Well, and the price you paid isn't what you got in return.
Han Solo hit him up with the final, I'm not mad at you, I'm just disappointed. and then he fell down a fucking ravine. You gotta live with that shit, Kylo, the rest of your life. Then your old man fell away, not mad, disappointed. And you put a lightsaber in his chest.
Bowcaster bolt in the shoulder. Like, whatever, it builds character.
Speaking of Ren, the First Order obviously are wary of a female with incredible Incredible and they're wondering if it's her. So obviously they are wary of a female we assume Jedi, but of a very powerful female because...
Spoilers, it's Phasma. That girl got thrown into a freaking trash compactor and clawed her way out single-handedly.
By the clumsiest First Order stormtrooper that they have.
I swear, that lady's got to be made of tougher stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, I want to find out what they know.
It is interesting because The Force Awakens sets up it raises some questions, because when they find out that it's a girl, everyone's like, "What girl?" or they say things that they hint that they know something's coming,
Correct.
and you get a feeling almost that Kylo Ren may already know who Rey is.
Correct.
And I'm interested to see where that goes. I hope it's not one of those things that's just dialogue that they forget about. I'm hoping they had things planned out.
One of my favorite things in The Force Awakens, and then I know we got to wrap this little line up, but
Yeah, because we've been on this shit for a hot minute.
yeah, but one of my favorite things in the Force Awakens is Kylo Ren's face when Rey flips his mind control.
Yeah, buddy.
His
Yeah.
face.
You thought
when
you were going to arm wrestle that girl? Man, you got
when-
fucked up.
when she pulls a flip mode on his ass. His face is probably the most priceless Force Awakens moment for me. But that's movies. We're gonna get into we're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna come back, and we're gonna still sit with Danno, and we're gonna talk about some video games. So
Hell yeah.
Grant,
Clickety clack.
get us out of here.
Most deaf. All right, we're back. Break achieved. Everybody went and did their business. Got a drink. Took a piss. You know, like you do. Hope you did the same. But you're listening to this. Hope you didn't piss in your car.
Don't piss in your car,
Don't do that.
especially in Florida.
The more you know.
God, it smells so bad. we had a big release date in video games, October 27th. Grant, what dropped on October 27th?
I don't. Everyone else is hyped for this. I'm like, I like hearing about games that are doing well. Wolfenstein, Mario Odyssey, and Assassin's Creed all dropped on the same day. Business wise, I think that's foolhardy, but whatever.
Nobody blinked, man. No one blinked and moved their date.
No one.
No one blinked
and I
and
think
moved
that's
their
dumb
date.
because at that point you're basically asking a bunch of people to either buy your game now or wait to pick it up during the holiday rush. Mario Odyssey I get because the Switch is starved for software, period.
And this also butted up with Destiny 2 on PC, which came out just 3 days earlier, which has
Yeah.
had success on PC from a sales standpoint.
Yeah.
So that's even another more curious.
Destiny 2's sales numbers already were confirmed from MPD as being the highest sales of 2017 thus far. So it's the best-selling game of 2017.
It's doing pretty well, but I'm a little surprised that nobody moved on. But we've got an interesting slate here. We've got Wolfenstein 2, which is a true single-player campaign, which is becoming a unicorn in the video game industry now. We just had the big news. EA shuttered Visceral Studios,
Which is crap.
Which was making what was supposed to be an awesome single-player campaign Star Wars game, to not get back down the Star Wars rabbit hole. But RIP, let's I'll pour a little out for Visceral Studios.
How many must die at your hands, EA?
They're like the Dexter of the video game industry.
Except you're not a good guy.
Yeah, you're not killing the bad studios. Why don't you kill the bad studios?
Dude, Jesus
terrible.
Christ, just sit down.
They were basically going to make an Uncharted game in the Star Wars universe. Thanks for removing that from our hands, EA.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed, a return to order for the franchise. A lot of people are excited about this one. It's actually the origins of the Assassin Order in Egypt. To not even discuss the actual game or what's going on with the gameplay, this game is doing something interesting that I read about. And Danno and Grant, I don't know if you saw this, but they are actually putting a mode in the game that will not tie you into the story at all and not give you any quests to do. All you can do is explore ancient Egypt and it is basically like a huge living museum tour that will have interactions, and everywhere you go that will provide you history in detail about the region and about the time period.
That's actually kind of cool.
It is something to me that when I think about some of these other games that are set in historical time periods, this might be something that you're going to have to see in every one of those moving forward. And what about the educational opportunities of something like this? I mean, with all the verification and the hard work that goes into something like this, to be able to sit down in front of maybe a classroom with a video game and say, today we're gonna pick up a controller and we're gonna walk.
Helps when it's not an M-rated game, but that's
well, you're not. There's no combat mechanics in these modes. You're not fighting anyone.
The thing is like I like it when previous games in the franchise actually broke out and tried to show off what those regions actually looked like and the architecture was based like, and it pulled from real historical records. I want to say even where's it? Assassin's Creed 2 took place in Italy or whatever.
Yes, Italy.
Like that was modeled after real places during that time. Even something like L.A. Noire. L.A. Noire was like a street for street recreation of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
The problem is that you can't interact with a street by street recreation of Los Angeles except in this very limited way. So I think now in order to do that, and to do it real justice, you have to kind of do what Origins is doing and build something that you can dig into and explore and find things in. And that really deepens your connection with the amount of work that they've done to try to give that accurate historical representation. But without having those two things operate in tandem, you kind of have, here's a historical representation, but it's not really historically realistically modeled or whatever. Then it's kind of, you're teaching me stuff, but really, did you do your homework over here? Or if you did the architectural homework and you're not really teaching me anything or letting me do anything,
right?
You've done all this work for really no ability to play through it or have fun with it. So really, why did you ever even do the work? So to do both is the way to get it done, but it's so ungodly expensive, which is only exacerbating the whole $200 million game problem that the industry is getting into. So
that's another podcast.
That's a whole podcast.
That's a whole
podcast
series.
Right there. That is a whole fucking podcast.
So we'll just boil those ones down to, Danno, if you were picking up one of those games when they came out on 10/27, Wolfenstein, Mario, Assassin's Creed, you have all the systems, you have the capability of playing all the games. Which one would you walk out the store with?
I'd probably go with Assassin's Creed, and only because this mode you're talking about sounds intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sounds like it has some great possibilities for VR.
Yeah.
I didn't even consider the
walking
VR.
Through
wow,
historical
that would
Egypt,
be amazing.
Having things pop up and tell you what they are. I don't know if that's their plan in the long run, but that's a great idea.
Can't rule that out at this point.
Absolutely.
Copyright me? No.
That's it.
Nice.
That's
Ideas by Danno.
That's it.
Grant, well, I don't want to assume. I think you'd walk out with Mario.
Oh, you're right.
Okay, so Grant would walk out with Mario. I got to be honest. I love the Assassin's Creed series, but I would probably walk out the store with Wolfenstein. I feel like we're not getting a lot of great single player campaigns these days, and this was fashioned from the bottom to the top. And it looks visually amazing. I think the story is interesting. So that's probably the one that I would have gone with. I think we'll go ahead and just kind of rapid fire some of these other things we're going to talk about. The Xbox One X is launching to a minimal amount of hype here very soon. While it's going to be the most powerful game console ever, there's not really anything associated, no software coming with that launch, so nothing to get hyped about. So I mean, there's just nothing pushing it. There's nothing driving it.
Look
other
at
than
this amazing new hardware.
other than it's
We're letting
graphical.
you play regular Xbox games on it. Yes,
there's
that's
just-
right. You can play Crimson Skies from 2002 on the world's most powerful gaming platform.
Play your
Get
16
the
bits.
fuck out of here.
Yeah, it's really cool looking. It's obviously very powerful, and everyone has backed up all those numbers, and it is going to be nice down the line maybe when these things are more fashion forward in 4K. But right now, there's no hype software to pair with this launch, so. I think it's just a status symbol in the Xbox community right now until it really becomes a more viable from when we finally see the games that are fashioned for this and can show something off maybe. But
The last thing we need is gaming as a freaking fashion statement and a status symbol.
correct.
That's the last thing we need.
Some game came out that
PC gaming is already that way enough as it is.
Correct.
Consoles don't need that shit.
Elitist.
And they've been trying to push that shit for years. It's not the first time it's happened. I mean, like, shit, the Neo Geo was freaking ungodly expensive for its time. I mean,
Yeah.
3DO. I mean, it's...
Gundam Versus is out in the U.S. of A.
Praise Jesus!
Grant, tell us about how the launch went.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen any of the real sales numbers yet. We're going to have to wait probably till the middle of next month to figure that out because the game launched on 9/29. It failed to crack the top 20 in terms of NPD sales for the month. But when that is only like the 29th and 30th that you can really draw metrics from, it's kind of shitty.
It's like debuting your movie on Sunday night.
And you were also going up against a month where Destiny 2 came out, and that was like the biggest selling game of the year. And you had like Madden and a couple other things that came out during August as well.
August Madden.
Yeah, like so
Madden.
it's you're not really gonna see that show up. Now whenever you get into October, on the other hand, that may have a little bit of reversal of fortune. And I'm really hoping to see it pop off because online play lobbies have been pretty strong in terms of player matches. Just like every other game, the first couple weeks are really strong and then it kind of tapers off. But I haven't seen that strong of a drop except in certain areas. You see a lot of the ranked match kickback because I think a lot of people aren't trying to play ranked because whenever you get to a high enough rank, you start playing people who know what they're doing. And then when people have to do a lot of work, they're kind of like, oh, I don't feel like working. So I get that. I love working, but whatever. Big shout out to the subreddit. I'm actually one of the head mods over at our Gundam X Versus. I started that like 2.5 years ago. For Full Boost, trying to kind of just bring a lot of siloed communities together and do sort of a compendium of knowledge bases. And hell, I even got Danno to buy the game.
Oh, I love it. I bought Full Boost.
You bought Full Boost. I mean, like
back on PlayStation 3. I was a late adopter, but I played it and enjoyed the heck out of it. And when I heard they were bringing this to the PS4 with the new Gundam Versus, I was already on board. So.
Well, Basement Roadshow is definitely your stop for that. Go ahead and check out our YouTube channel. Grant put together and is continuing to put together some awesome Gundam Versus video, a Gundam Versus tutorial that if you're starting off with.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I did make this video guide, but I will come right out and say that. And this is hard for me to say because I put a lot of work into what I did, but there has been other stuff pop up after the fact from other people who are a little bit longer in the tooth in the series than I am that do equal good job, if not better job than what I've done. So I implore you to check their stuff out as well.
I don't. I'm a fan of you going to Basement Roadshow YouTube channel, and you can check out our stuff.
Subscribe, please do, because we got more than just Gundam coming on the way.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of stuff we're working on.
Absolutely.
But it's without trying to, I don't want to ever make it look like my involvement in that is particularly to shill my own brand. That's never the way I want to be, and that's in the interest of transparency. That's not how I fucking roll. So, yeah, by all means, there's a lot of cool things and a lot of cool people that are putting together a lot of excellent work, and you owe it to yourself to check it all out. Mine, theirs, everyone's work is worth something. But definitely pick the game up. The game hasn't reviewed terribly well. I mean, it's a lot of 7s, you know what I mean? So it's not like the greatest game of the year, and I think it's because it's kind of esoteric. It doesn't really teach you how to play. It's very multiplayer focused. There's no real single player content, and what it is essentially a bastardized version of the Versus mode, just made with more targets. So it can get boring for people that don't want to grind at it and get better. And kind of figure out how to play and what suit them. But with that said, it's still the most fun I've ever had picking up a controller. And if you doubt that, then play it, give yourself time to learn what it expects of you, and you will have some sort of epiphany as well. Because I don't think I've ever come across someone who hasn't given it its fair shake and walked away saying, okay, I get it, and yeah, this shit is hype. Anyway, moving on from Gundam.
We've also, you and Danno have both played it. I'm downloading it as soon as my PC arrives next week, is the fabulous Cuphead.
That's some serious shit, boy.
Oh, man.
That is some serious shit.
Just watching Cuphead is amazing, the music and the visuals, but you guys have been playing it. I understand it's incredibly difficult but challenging in the best of ways, correct?
It's fair. It's like a Mega Man game. Like if you run through and are able to understand what it's trying to tell you how to do, you have the patience to learn the pattern in front of you, you will do well at the game. If you are frustrated and be like, oh, this shit's too hard, like, well, that's cool. You're free to feel that way. You're free to your opinion. It's America, at least where I'm from.
So this has got to be a nod
But
to
you're
our
shortchanging
to our
yourself.
8-bit roots when you did. I mean, these games you had to master them. They
Yes.
weren't something that had bump stops in to get you to the end game. You weren't able to just do playthroughs because if you weren't good enough back in the day, guess what? You didn't see the end of Mega Man.
Cuphead ain't spoon feeding you a goddamn thing.
No, it's not.
Like,
it's not called Spoonhead.
It's not. It's Spoon. Yes, this is not Spoon Man.
Yeah, it's Cuphead.
This ain't no save me. It's save yourself, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can't wait to get into it, man. That looks like something that when you're into other games that you could just take a break, fire up Cuphead, and just run through a couple levels in that, and just.
You're gonna run through one level. Don't lie to yourself. It's not gonna be like I'm gonna run through a couple levels. A couple levels is like a 2-hour ordeal.
Oh my god! Well, I'm definitely looking. I'm excited to download and play that. We got so much other stuff coming soon.
Dragon Ball Fighter Z, boy. Although I will say this, Dragon Ball Fighter Z,
what's with that DLC, man?
Holy shit!
What's with that DLC,
the fact that you're announcing like all this DLC like right now before the game even comes out with no like, you're not even giving the season pass away with like the $100 billion version of it. Like,
it's ridiculous, man.
Bandai Namco, get a hold of yourself. I mean, I'll go ahead and be honest about Gundam too. Gundam's DLC,
gross.
It's atrocious how they're doing this. They really need to be selling packs. They really need to be thinking about it rather than selling this shit a la carte at $5 a suit. Because right now on the freaking store, like, it's not even been out, a month? It's the 28th? Yeah, okay, so tomorrow makes a month that Gundam Versus has been out in the United States. And you can buy all of the DLC in that game and buy the game twice over. Like, there's over $60 worth of DLC on the store. That is, scientifically speaking, fucking ludicrous.
Not only the fact, but Dragon Ball and Bandai Namco, they've already come out and put a bad taste in everybody's mouth when they let you know you didn't get into the beta by trying to sell you the collector's edition of the game.
Yeah, dude, that is the biggest video game corporate dick slap I think I have ever suffered in my life.
I saw that email on Twitter. I was like, oh my God, they don't even care.
Like, hey, we appreciate your interest in the beta. Buy the collector's edition for $170 though. I'm like,
and
y'all,
you're not in the beta.
Dude,
they put that in the middle of telling you you're not in the beta almost.
Y'all need to lick these Dragon Balls, dog. Are you fucking kidding me?
Wow,
like,
that's
haughty.
Savage.
That's
Bandai
haughty.
Namco.
That's not even freaking like arrogant. That's haughty.
Yeah.
Like, you got to have your fucking nose way up in the air to try to pull that off with a straight face.
I'd buy the collector's edition if it came with Easter egg shaped Dragon Balls.
Oh my Jesus! Yeah, let's not even get into MVCI. Jeez, man.
God. Marvel vs. Capcom.
The game's fun. I actually had a chance to dick around with MVCI. The game's fun. It still looks gross, and it's anyway.
Tekken 2 visuals.
Oh man. Well, anyway. The one last thing I wanted to talk about on the game side, because, in the interest of time and space, GameStop ended up kind of releasing their plans to make a subscription service where you could come into GameStop stores and pick up a used game and check it out and return it, almost kind of like a GameFly or a Redbox. It costs you $60 for 6 months, which equates $10 a month. So for $10 a month, you can come through and pick up whatever game you want, bring it back whenever you want to, swap it out however you feel, and even keep one. So every 6 months, you get to keep a game. So you buy a game with that $60, but you can check it back in and out no matter. So if you want to swap it out for something else, you have the ability to do that. Whatever one you want to keep, you pick it, you keep it.
This is the first goddamn good idea GameStop has had in a minute.
It is. And that says something.
Who took over GameStop?
Not just that. If they are coming up with an idea of this caliber at this point in the game, they are probably pretty desperate as far as a company is concerned. Because if you take a look at how basically GameStop has become kind of a Spencer's with a video game room in the back, this is probably like a last-ditch effort to save the company.
I gotta walk through aisles and aisles of Funko Pops and then go through some Bob Marley beats just to get to my video games.
No shit. That is not far from the truth.
I don't want a Game of Thrones sword. All I want to do is get the latest copy of Madden.
That's it.
It's back there behind those Bob Marley beads.
Yeah, well, I mean, freaking dude.
The Western doors.
Yeah, man.
It's like a bad '80s video store.
It is.
It's crazy, but this is an idea for them, man. This is a
the first
franchise-saving opportunity for them because this is very akin to how things are operating on the digital side for some of the Game Passes that are coming out. It's not brand new content, but neither are the Game Passes that you get. So that but getting you into the store for the auxiliary purchases is huge for them. Just getting you in there to swap something out, and you're like, I got $10 to throw at a Funko, or something like that. But there's going to be promotions inside of this program as well that they're going to come out with that's going to keep people in the store, as well as promotions outside of the program because they're going to need that pre-owned inventory like a motherfucker now.
Yeah.
They got to get you back in there to bring in your games. Otherwise, this model is going to fall apart because there ain't going to be something for you to check out. If enough people adopt this program, but enough people aren't buying and turning in video games, then their inventory is constantly getting rented out and they don't have things to give to other people, depending on the rate of success. Obviously, I'm coming down the road on this thing. But they're going to have to they're going to need that inventory now more than ever because people are going to be looking for it because there's no pricing consequence for it if they've already paid their upfront. If they can come in and get a new game whenever they want, I mean, shit, some of these kids are going to trade out their games every day.
It's going to be really interesting, too, because it changes the paradigm of video game sales quite a bit. GameStop is the most established brand, especially in the United States. And to have them do that is essentially kind of nullifying the Redbox and Gamefly effect kind of immediately. If you have a GameStop nearby,
other than the household delivery, other than the mailbox delivery.
That's it.
I mean, 100%.
And the mailbox delivery is contingent on what's new and what's available. And I guarantee you, a store's got way more inventory than that shit does.
And that tangible physical disc that stays with you at your subscription re-up time is also something that's it's going to be interesting to see how it's adopted, how and what kind of attachment point it gets and how it continues to sustain itself, because if you're already paying $120 for video games a year, you're going to maybe, like you said, this is changing the purchasing habits because you're going to say, I'm going to buy Madden when it comes out, but I'll wait on everything else and I'll just cycle it through when I.
We can't get new games. You got to pre-order your
That's
new
what
games.
I'm saying.
Like that still.
What I'm saying is you're going to have to pay for Madden outside of your program, but that's going to be your one budget.
Or you can wait until that's traded in.
Correct.
Hold off on that and be like, oh, they have this one that's traded in. I'm going to now pick this up as part of my thing and I'm going to keep that one. Now the question is if you keep that one, can you continue to check stuff in and out, or do you have to swap the one you were going to keep back for the?
I think you have to keep it at the end of the program. I don't think you can. I think you have to have one. You have to give one to get one.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's going to kind of be like, well, if you want to switch out and play something else new, you're going to have to give us that other one back. And that's going to create...
that's going to have to be the way they do it.
You're going to have to be playing some pretty hardcore shell games to figure that shit out. But like I said, that's going to be... time will tell. So, yeah, we should probably move on past the video.
Going from the video games to, we'll stay on the TV, but now we're going to switch inputs.
Teraby.
Yeah, we're going to switch inputs over to another HDMI input. We're going to boot up the television, and we're going to talk about some of the some big shows coming back. The fall is always huge for television, whether it be network and now obviously the gobs upon gobs of other television options that we have. Grant, I know I need to get back onto this. I watched most of season 1, but not all of it. But you're super stoked about Vice Principals coming back, right, man?
Vice Principals has been back on for a couple weeks. I think we're up to episode 6, I think.
We're about halfway through?
No, it's 9 episodes, I believe, is the entire... it'll be the entire season, I believe.
Okay.
I want to say. I could be wrong, though. No, I think it's 13. Might be 13 episodes.
Yeah, they're only half hours, so I bet they're not doing 9.
It's I think it might be 13. But anyway, if you haven't been watching that, it is phenomenal.
Danny McBride, Walton Goggins.
Yeah, and Danny McBride is doing his thing. Danny McBride does what Danny McBride does, and he has... Gamby is a more sympathetic character than the people, than say something like a Kenny Powers. Kenny Powers is a dick, and it's very hard to
El
love
Flama
him.
Blanca.
Yeah, he's real hard to love, but Neil Gamby is really, really easy to love. He's a dumbass. He's a simpleton, but he's got a heart, even though he still has that asshole streak. And
yes, he does.
It's really fun to watch. And then the second season especially has humanized Russell's character, Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins.
Yeah, Walton Goggins.
Who had in season 1, if you haven't seen it, he's got portfolios on pretty much every teacher and administrator in the building.
That dude is the biggest creepster, but yet what they've done is they've humanized the shit out of him to give him real reasons why and real problems that come from his way of dealing with things. And you see him as sort of this really sympathetic character. And you could probably even still think like, yeah, but this guy is still just a ruthless prick, but you understand him on such a more human level. And I think what they've done with this show is made a comedy about ruthless, unlikable people, but given you reasons to see genuine humanity in them.
Right.
That makes them likable and watchable as a result.
You have to walk that line, otherwise you can't get people to come and consume that, even if it's only in 22-minute doses.
Yeah.
You have to give them some sort of one tiny little bit of redemption or redeemable qualities, or at least even the illusion that they might be on the path to that, to even yank that rug under you later in the season. But they have to give that to you to keep you coming back, and Vice Principals is doing a great job of that. Netflix came back with their juggernaut.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I sat up last night. I got off of work, put the kids to bed. I sat down with my wife, and I'm like, all right, we're watching some Netflix tonight.
Oh, you going to Netflix and chill, homie?
No, there
you going to Netflix and chill, homie?
No, there ain't no chill on this. There's zero chill in my fucking house, man, because Stranger Things is back. And at this point, it's just Netflix.
Snap.
Stranger Things, man. And I had problems with the first Stranger Things. I liked it. I liked what it went for, but I think that it kind of tried to set up too much and didn't really kind of nail a lot of the end game in the first season.
That's
My
fair.
wife fell asleep right in the middle of the second episode.
And so you turned it off and said, I love you, babe. We'll pick this back up tomorrow.
I want to say that. I'm a horrible husband. The reason why I'm a horrible husband is because I didn't get to sleep till 2:30 in the morning because I drilled through 6 episodes.
No.
And the reason being is the fact that the setup and the pacing and the payoff
It's amazing.
is so well executed that I'm not even watching it to get ahead. I'm watching it to see when they fuck it up. And so far, they haven't. 6 out of 9 episodes, and it is in every way superior to the first season. And I'm honestly thinking if it keeps going to this pace, they've got a real winner on their hands, and they should all be really proud of the job they've done.
Oh, my God. The hype is so big for it already on social media. They've already got a winner on their hands.
The actors have done a phenomenal job.
Yeah,
the kids especially deserve every ounce of praise.
I'm only about 2.5 episodes in. When my partner fell asleep last night, I did hit the pause button. So I'm not saying I'm a better person than you. Not saying I'm a better person than you, but we'll let the audience go ahead and jump to their own conclusions.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll be a dick, whatever. I enjoyed the 6 hours of time I watched. Fucking judge me.
I'd like to say that, I watched the first episode and only part of the second because my partner fell asleep, but I'm lonely. No.
Dana's tragically alone, so he can't say that right now.
No, I made it through. I got through
That
the first
single father life.
episode. I really enjoyed it, and then unfortunately I've started falling asleep during the second one.
Narcolepsy's a motherfucker.
I believe I have a form of narcolepsy, but it definitely.
I'll agree
would
to
say,
it. You'll be on freaking playing Gundam Versus, and you'll start hearing that motherfucker snore.
when we played the beta.
You jump into a match, there's a gun cannon just sitting still.
A robot spinning around in the corner wall.
Just
Yeah.
Spinning in
I
circles.
fell asleep in the middle of the beta.
True story.
It was funny because we were waiting on our friend Chad to get on. He finally gets on, and I'm like, sweet, Chad's on, and then I fell asleep.
Like clockwork.
Pretty sure I was snoring on the Discord, but
Well, we were going to talk about it, but I don't think we need to talk about it. The Walking Dead just actually returned. Ratings down almost 14%. Interesting to see how AMC is going to feel about that. They cannot be happy. Another show that's that Dan's going to have to watch is.
Well, I mean, my whole thing about Walking Dead, before I jump into that, Walking Dead, listen, I quit at the Governor. Like, I quit. Like, it's once you beat that drum too long, I don't care anymore. And coming from AMC, the channel and studio that brought us Breaking Bad, the show that proved once and for all that a story that knows when to call it quits is the better story, take the hint. Just take the hint.
I think a lot of TV shows suffer from the same thing that we talked about with the DC universe, where they don't want to tell a good story that has an ending because that means they don't keep making money.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, you can't sell Walking Dead Funko Pops anymore.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Available at GameStop.
yeah, available at GameStop.
Unfortunately.
In aisles 1 through 92.
Right behind the Game of Thrones sword and the Son Goku statue.
Callbacks.
I think sometimes we as an audience just want an ending.
Yeah,
And we
I think
want
I don't
something to
disagree
wrap
with
up.
that. I
I
don't
think
disagree with that. And because this model also forces the worst thing ever when your show does finally hit that wall with the studio. It's not hitting it with you, but it's hitting it with the studio. Well, there's no closure like a motherfucker, man. You get nothing.
But what's the fear on closure? Because look at what freaking AMC did with Better Call Saul. What'd you do? You made a freaking great show out of Breaking Bad, 5 seasons, had a story, had a beginning, had an end. You knew where you wanted to do with it. Then you come back around to make a spinoff series about this other character that, in a lot of ways, is better character drama than the original story that birthed it. And it's going strong, and it's setting records, and everyone loves it. So there's no shame in calling something quits when you can use that seed to bounce something else off of it. Almost kind of like, Treme or, The Deuce that's on HBO right now. All of that's from David Simon.
Have you watched any of The Deuce yet?
I have not watched The Deuce yet.
The
I
trailers
really
are
want to
amazing.
watch it because it's David Simon. Speaking of David Simon, I have essentially forced people at lunch, who I usually eat lunch with Dan because he and I work together, Danno and Chad, which you'll know from the video review of Blade Runner 2049. I have sat you guys down at lunch, and we usually watch something. We'll burn through a series, whether it's like we'll burn through One Punch Man. We burned through all of Hunter x Hunter, which is, that's a long haul. We've burned through a lot of stuff. We burned through the Grand Tour on Amazon, a whole bunch of stuff.
A lot of Gundam series.
A lot of Gundam, buddy. But now I have sat them down to watch the American magnum opus.
Mork and Mindy.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
so mad. Look at his
Yes.
face right now. He's so fucking
I
mad.
ain't even mad at that. I ain't even mad at that.
God. Oh, this podcast needed a good Mork and Mindy pull.
I'm just wondering if we're making ethanol fuel out of a joke that corny. Jesus Christ. Wow.
I'm so fucking self-satisfied right now.
I
can't
know.
even tell you.
I know. This dude is basically freaking this mental masturbation going on over here.
Oh,
right
it's
next to me. It's
phenomenal.
creeping me out.
Ecstasy. I am in
Creeping
ecstasy.
me out.
Oh, carry on.
Sitting them down to watch the motherfucking Wire. The Wire. The Wire. If you haven't watched The Wire, stop what you're doing. Put the podcast down. You can come back to this. Start
Steal
watching The Wire.
someone's HBO Go.
Steal someone's HBO Go. Go hop on Amazon. and
Amazon
just start,
Prime has it.
Start watching
Oh, I
it.
didn't know it's on Prime.
Yeah,
now, too.
dude. Yeah, like just start watching it. Don't stop watching it. If you start watching it and finish it, go back and watch it again to see where all the chains connect. This shit, Dan.
I'm in the middle of season 2 on my own right now. We started over watching season 1 because Chad hadn't started it. And in episode 2, there's already a reference that both Grant and I laughed at because we've seen all of season 1 where they say Lester Freeman's just like a
house cat.
A house cat.
The house key.
Cuddly little house cat. And if you've even made it to the end of season 1, that line is hilarious. But you don't even get it the first time you watch it. So
because he's anything but. He's the smartest man in the room, bar
Yes.
none. Bar none. There are so many great characters, so many great stories being told. I think the cool thing about it is, much like Legend of the Galactic Heroes, big old callback. Much like Legend of Galactic Heroes, which is, again, my favorite television series of all time, aside from The Wire, is the fact that they show these conflicts at multiple levels within this societal structure, being cops, drug dealing in the street, prostitution, city hall, education, all this stuff, all of these layers, the press, all of this stuff is layered in as part of the larger beating heart organism of the city of Baltimore. And there is no good guy. There is no bad guy. There is simply a collection of people in these particular silos that are doing more to vie for power and personal gain than they are trying to achieve the goal of the group, and how that messes with things and stops any actual goals from being achieved.
Sounds like another Walton Goggins show. Very similar show, The Shield.
Yeah, and the thing is,
Very similar.
The Shield is
talk about the
very
lines
similar.
being completely blurred into no good guys, no bad guys.
I wonder if the Shield actually has. You know what? I'm gonna look that up real quick. Y'all are gonna hear some keyboard
Tappy tap
tapping.
tap, tappy tap tap.
Y'all gonna hear some
Brain is
keyboard-
tapping away.
I'm gonna actually check that out real quick. Who wrote the Shield?
That was Stanley, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, we love.
Sean Ryan and the Barn Production. Okay, no, but I want to see. Let me see if the. See if the
Golden
Shield and the
Globe
Wire.
for best TV series.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, they put.
Looks like they're compared a lot.
Yeah, they're compared a lot. The
So I'm
Shield
not
and the Wire.
Not
So,
as
so
hot
if
as I
you,
thought I was a second ago.
yeah, if you've seen, I haven't seen all the Shield. I've seen only I think the first season or so, but it's really really good. Michael Chiklis did a fantastic job.
Walt Goggins is amazing. on that
Yeah,
show.
and the thing is when you get into shows that really break down, whenever you get into police procedurals, you start getting into this whole law and order, cops and robbers.
Jing, jing.
Yeah, there's always a bad guy versus a good guy. It's very, very unrealistic. It's entertainment for people that don't know how the world actually works.
It's white hat, black hat, man.
Yeah, and it's real basic shit. And whenever you start digging into deeper things, like, I don't like this person because they're a drug dealer, but I empathize with their situation and understand how they came to this reality. And that, once you put that into that lens, it kind of opens you up to empathizing with a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons, and seeing how their lives are very parallel in a sense, because they're both caught in situations that they feel they have to do something to deal with the reality in which they live, and they're forced at odds.
And they're always chasing that dragon of all of those decisions are just things that end up like complicating life further and further.
And it's
just
not
you're
even their
constantly
decisions. It's
correct.
not their decisions. It's decisions of people above them. They start talking about
Means
chess,
to an end.
Yeah, but they
Means
start
to an
talking
end.
about chess pieces and who's in control of what and who outranks what. And even still, like when Freeman says, all the pieces matter, he's not talking about just the pieces of the case. It also is a reference to the chessboard scene later on, where it's because all of those pieces do have a purpose. They all matter. But the pawns are seen as expendable. And that is the role of the pawn. But the pawn doesn't see himself that way. The pawn has his own dreams and aspirations.
Correct.
How does one rise above that to become that?
And that's what's
And
interesting.
what conscience do cost, baby? Conscience
Correct.
do cost.
Conscious do cost. What for the interesting character development is when you are having to see that in similar situations, what are the different characters' means to an end? What are they willing to do? How this person's willing to go this far, this person's willing to not go that far, this person's willing to go further, and seeing the humanity in how decisions made previous and decisions made, like you said, by other people have to affect what your means to an end are.
Yes.
And what you're going to be comfortable with when you sit down at the end of the night. And I think both of those shows, from what I've heard about The Wire and what I've seen of The Shield, is basically the same thing. The same type of plot device for each show, done well on different networks.
I'm glad you started watching it. It's a slow burn.
It is. The episodes are about an hour long, and as you guys know, I have narcolepsy. So for me to get through an hour-long episode, if it's a week when I have my kids,
He has to tie his hair back like Deuce Bigelow.
sometimes that means it's like a 2-hour-long episode, and I fell asleep in the middle and then had to go back and start over. But I think the great thing about The Wire is the big question it asks, which is, when are you going to break down and just buy a duck and get it drunk?
That's very true.
Ooh, now
very
I'm
true.
interested.
Yeah, you'll see some wild shit.
I think we should close with a super important question. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I could fight 100 duck-sized horses. You just kick the piss out of them.
Right?
A horse-sized
Do you
duck?
think you ever get overwhelmed by 100, though? I mean, they're
100?
not coming at you single file now.
100, whatever.
You're feeling pretty good about
yeah,
it.
they ain't gonna really
Utmost
clop
confidence, but a horse-sized duck.
A horse-sized
Is that fucking
duck.
terrifying?
A horse-sized duck, man. That's
Like
called.
those things
that's
that you
called
ride the paddle boats?
Nah,
The
man.
big geese?
Nah, man. That's called a chocobo. I don't want to fuck with no chocobo.
No.
Yeah, no. that's-
I'll ride one.
I'll
But
ride
a
one.
golden one? Golden chocobo?
Yeah, I ain't gonna fuck with no chocobo.
You got to get the black one. They fly.
Oh,
So,
shit. Yeah. Well, man, the Basement Roadshow podcast, we're running longer today, so we had a couple segments we decided to cut out, but I think we gave you enough meat on the bone today. You want to talk about?
Nothing else really for me. I mean, it's.
We were going to talk some sports, but I think we can leave that for another time. We're getting near the midway point of the NFL season. The World Series is going on right now, the Astros and the Dodgers. We're trying to see how that shakes out, and it would be a nice win for the city of Houston with all they've gone through.
It would be.
With Hurricane Harvey, so that, on that end. But midway point of the NFL season, if you've been to basementroadshow.com, you've seen us, Grant Patterson comment on the anthem struggle, a lot more going on with that. I think we'll probably touch on that at another time.
Yeah.
But definitely something still to watch. But anyway, this has been the Basement Roadshow podcast. Please make sure to go to our YouTube channel and also follow us on Twitter at Basement Roadshow. Drop the W, because we didn't need that W at all.
No, they won't. They'll freaking boost your characters for posts to like 280 characters, but they won't give me the ability to put a W on the end of the name.
Yeah, and then go to basementroadshow.com and you can check out all of our content from there. You can check out our different writers as well. But for Danno Waddell, for Grant Patterson, I am Tim Smith, and we out.
Yay, yay!